When we compare Browser.js with Node.js in section 1, I mentioned that Node.js has an important concept called modules. So what is a module in Node.js? When you write Node.js applications, you could actually put all your code into one huge JS file, no matter how large or complex your application is. Node.js won't care. But in terms of code organization, your project will soon become hard to understand and hard to debug, hard to maintain, because just you have so many code logic in one file. So this is not very good software engineering. As a human being developer, okay, you should care about how to structure your code, your JavaScript code. This is where Node.js modules come in. A module in Node.js is a simple or complex functionality organized in a single JS file. So this file can be then reused throughout Node.js application. You may even publish this file so that other projects can also download your module and use it. Each module in Node.js has its own context. This is very important. It's kind of like in an object in Java, so that variables or methods you define in one module cannot interfere with other modules or pollute the global scope. Because one serious problem before, without module is, the variables you defined and also the methods you defined have name conflict. They pollute the global scope. Also, by convention, in Node.js, each module is defined in one .js file. Here I list 4 properties of module. First, discrete chunk of functionality. So make sure that the content you put in one module, they're cohesive. Okay, so they're working on one single responsibility. Second is encapsulation. So everything inside by default is not accessible from outside. Later on, we're going to talk about how to make them accessible. Number 3 is reuse. Of course, you can reuse this module in your current project. You can reuse it across projects if your module becomes very popular. And the fourth one is, by convention, one module per JS file, so it's easy to manage. Okay, so next, we're going to work on one example. We're going to define 2 modules, module A and module B. And we're going to have module B use the functionality we defined in module A. So let's go to PowerPoint. As I mentioned before, I'm going to create 2 modules. Now, based on the convention of Node.js, every module is defined in one file. So there are 2 files, module A.js and module B.js. In module A.js, there are 2 members. One is a variable, one is a function. And by default, those 2 members cannot be used in a different module. They can only be used in their current context. So in order to make them accessible to module B, module A has to explicitly expose them by using a keyword called exports. So exports.msg equal to msg. Now, so this msg here refers to the first variable. Now, this name can be anything, but here I'm simply just using the same name. Now, this is the name of the function, and here it can be any name, but I'm just calling it print.dt. Of course, you can call it print datetime, no problem. So once module A exports the 2 members, module B has to explicitly import them by using a keyword. Well, unfortunately, it's not import. It is called require. So let's assume that module A and module B, the 2 files, they're under the same directory. So we're require dot / so this means the current directory, there is a file called module-a. The .js is optional. Okay, so you don't have to include .js. So after require, then we can use msg and print.dt. Okay, so you can think of this module A as an object. So we can use this object dot syntax. So for example, module A dot msg. So this one will return hello, and here this guy will return the current date and time. Okay, so we can say module B depends on module A. So there is a dependency relation between the 2 modules. We also call module A dependency of module B. All right, let's go to VS Code and implement this. First, let's create 2 files. 02 module a.js, 03 module b.js. Now remember, module B depends on module A, so first we're going to complete module A, then go to module B. In module A, we're going to define two members. The first one is a variable, hello from module A. The second one is a function, so var print date time. Okay, so after we define two members, next we're going to explicitly export the two members using the keyword exports. So exports.message, I'm going to export the first one. Then exports.print dt print data time. Okay, so after this, we're going to module B. In order to use the members we defined in module A, first we're going to use require. So require since they are under the same directory, we're going to require module A. So after require, we have to assign this to a variable. So let's call this module A. Okay, next we can use module A.message and module A.print dt. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to log them in console. So console.log module A.msg. As you can see, VS Code already knows what is in there. Console.log module A.print dt. There we go. All right, so let's go to terminal. Let's do clear. And this time I'm going to run module B. And since module B requires module A, so module A will also be brought in. So node 03 tab. Okay, press enter. As we can see, now we have hello from module A, but it looks like this one prints the object, the function object, not we're not invoking this function. So what we're going to do here is I simply just invoke it. As you can see, the color also changes. So do it again. So hello from module A, and also inside print dt, we're logging the current time. To make things more interesting, and this time I'm going to have module B depend on one more module. But this module is very special. It is a built-in node module. Okay, so this module A, we built it by ourselves. Okay, in this case, we call module A local module. So this time we're going to depend on or require a built-in module. So var http is equal to require http. Okay, so after downloading Node.js, HTTP module is already there. Okay, all right. Then how do we use this? So let me comment out those two. Here we're going to create an HTTP server that listens to port, 8080, our favorite port. So here's the syntax: HTTP dot create server. So the argument is a function. So of course you can use function, but here I'm going to use arrow function. Request, response. That's the two formal parameters of this function. And here is the function body. Response dot write head. So it's a 200. And then we have content type. So that's a header, content type. So let me make them cap. Content type is text HTML. Okay, so that's how we set up response. Next, we're going to respond to the client the current time on the server. So basically, we're using module a.printdt. Okay, so response.write. So here's the function. How do we write it back to the client? Right now, we're the server side. Okay, because remember I told you before, we can use Node.js to create a server and do server-side programming. So we can see the date and time are currently module a.printdt. Okay, sure it's a function call. And then when we're done, response.end. Okay. All right. After create server, okay, we're gonna keep chaining some function calls. Dot listen. Here we're gonna pass the port number, which is 8080. Okay. Now to make sure that we as a server-side developer knows what happened, so here we're gonna log something to the console. Server running at 127.0.0.1. Okay, let me make sure everything's good. HTTP. '80. All right, so everything looks good. In module B, we start a HTTP server. Okay, so let me clean this. And node 03, press enter. As you can see, the server is running, okay? Now, we can use command and click to access this address in the browser. So if I click, this will open my Google Chrome. As you can see, this is the front end. We received the response from our Node.js server. Okay, so this is the current time. Next, I'm going to show you how to export an entire JS object from module. Because in most cases, you define, for example, 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 members in one module. Instead of exporting them one by one, exports dot, that's tedious. We want to package all the members into one JS object and just export once. Okay? Also, I'm going to introduce you a second way of export stuff from your module. And it is really equivalent to the first one. So let's get to it. We're going to create 04. And we call this module.exports.js. Okay, so in here, I'm going to define something. For example, const greeting equal to, here is a name. Okay. Also here I'm going to use temporal literal. Hello name. So this is a function. Okay, so this is a function. Next, I'm going to define a variable x equal to 5. And next, define a equal to 100. All right. So let's say we're going to export them. What I do here is I'm going to use, so first let me put some comments here, export multiple things, okay, in a JS object. Module.exports. So I'm going to export greeting. So remember, in a JS object, we have name value pair. Okay, so the name is greeting, also the value is greeting. Okay, this greeting refers to the greeting here, and this greeting is the name. It can be anything, right? Greeting or greetings, doesn't matter. Now, if you remember that if the name and the variable of the value have the same name, then we have shorthand. Okay, next, I'm going to export X. I'm not going to export A, okay? To want to show you that you don't have to export everything you define in this module. You only export a subset of them. Next, if you say, hey, I forgot to export name, of course, you can come here and define const name, but you can simply just define everything in this module.exports, like this, name, for example, Harry Potter. Okay, so this time we're exporting a JS object with 3 properties, creating a function, a variable, a integer variable, and also a string variable. Okay, then let's go to 05. I will call 05.require.js. Okay, so in 05.require.js, we're going to require this module.export.js. So we have var, just call it name m, require. And 04. Okay, so 05 depends on 04. So once we have this, we can console.log. For example, we have if you remember that we have m.greeting, right? We also have console.log m. For example, name. Okay, now can we access, let me show this, m.a, okay, because a is defined here, but unfortunately module 4, this guy here, didn't explicitly export it, so demo 5 cannot access a, okay, cannot access a. So let me run it. Node 05, press enter. As you can see, we have a function. Okay, so this is a function, but if I use parentheses, let's do it again. Then we have hello undefined. Of course, we have to pass something over there. For example, here is Ron. Okay, let's do it again. Hello Ron, then Harry Potter, and the last one, there's no error. Okay, so one thing about programming in JavaScript is you don't have any error. Simply just undefined. Okay, so there's no such property in this m object, so that's undefined. All right, now you know how to export many things in one run.